The greatest strategic failure is believing a large purchase requires a huge pitch, this massive, high-pressure effort to close a skeptical buyer. We've all been taught that, right? To push, persuade, just overwhelm them with features and benefits. But what if the entire sales battle is actually won at the lowest friction point? I'm talking about a single, small yes that psychologically nudges the buyer toward that final big purchase. This right here, this is where we hit a really core and honestly often fatal misunderstanding in the entire world of sales and marketing.
Okay, so let's really dive into this quote. This one single idea, this is where countless strategies just completely go off the rails. See, we operate on this assumption. It's almost like an article of faith that more choice is always better. More plans, more features, more ways to configure things. We genuinely think we're empowering the customer, giving them all this freedom to choose. But what's really happening? In reality, we're building a cage of our own design made of too many options that paradoxically makes customers feel trapped, not free. And what do people do when they feel trapped? They run. So, if more options create a cage, then how in the world do we set the customer free? Well, it starts by reframing the entire problem. The question we should be asking isn't how much can we offer? The real question, the one that actually unlocks growth, is this: how much friction are we creating? Seriously, what if the path to higher conversions and genuinely happier customers isn't about adding more stuff, but about strategically taking things away? That's exactly what we're going to dissect today. All right, so here's our game plan. First up, we're going to pull back the curtain on that big sales illusion, the whole more is better myth. Then we'll dissect a nasty little psychological trap called the Regret Paralysis Cycle, which is exactly why your customers vanish at checkout. After that, we'll get into the psychology of quitting, and then I'll introduce a super simple but powerful fix called the Goldilocks Principle. And finally, we'll wrap up by showing you how to master the art of making decisions effortless. Okay, let's tackle this illusion head on. This idea that having tons of choices is a good thing, it's one of the biggest myths in business. And it feels right, doesn't it? But the data, and maybe more importantly, our own psychology, tell a totally different story, a much more costly one. It's a story about the hidden tax of complexity. And listen, this isn't just some theory. It was famously proven in a study with jam. Yeah, jam. Researchers set up a tasting booth. One day, they put out 24 different jams. The next day, just 6. Now, the booth with 24 jams, it got more attention, sure. But here's the kicker. The people who saw only 6 jams were 10 times more likely to actually buy one. That's insane. More choice literally paralyzed them. And this right here, this shows that clash between our gut feeling and what actually happens. On one side, you've got the common belief. Give people every option under the sun and they'll find the perfect one and happily buy it. But the hidden truth, the thing that's quietly killing your high-intent traffic, is on the other side. See, every single option, every feature you ask a customer to compare, it adds just a little bit of cognitive friction. And when that friction starts to stack up, it doesn't lead to a sale. Nope, it leads to a total shutdown. It's the digital version of seeing those 24 jams and just walking away. So this whole phenomenon actually has a name. It's called choice overload, and it's a real, well-documented cognitive state. Basically, it's what happens when our brain, which, let's be honest, has a pretty limited capacity for processing stuff in its working memory, is just given way too much to think about. The outcome isn't a well-thought-out purchase, not even close. The result is anxiety, paralysis, and more often than not, the decision to just do nothing, to just walk away. And this happens even if they really truly want or need your product. And this is so crucial to understand. We spend all this time obsessing over our competitors, right? But more often than not, the most dangerous competitor isn't another company at all. It's the friction that we've built into our own sales process. I'm talking about that confusing pricing page, that checkout flow with a million steps. That stuff is a silent conversion killer. It is the real enemy we have to defeat. Okay, so how does this friction actually work on a psychological level? It's not just some random thing. It's a predictable 3-stage failure process. Let's call it the Regret Paralysis Cycle. And if you can understand this cycle, it's like having the blueprint for why a buyer who is totally motivated suddenly gets cold feet and just bolts from your website. Let's break down exactly how this happens. It's like a domino effect, and it happens inside your customer's head in just a few seconds. It all starts with information overload. That overload then triggers a really powerful negative emotion, anticipated regret. And that feeling, that leads directly to the final and fatal stage, decision paralysis. All right, step 1, information overload. Just think about your brain's working memory for a second. It's kind of like the RAM on your computer, right? It can only handle a few things at a time, usually about 5 to 7 pieces of info. So when a customer lands on a pricing page that has 6 tiers, dozens of bullet points, multiple add-ons, their working memory just gets fried instantly. And the process of buying, which should feel kind of exciting, suddenly becomes this frustrating mental chore. It just feels like work. And that leads right into step 2, anticipated regret. As soon as the brain is overloaded, this powerful fear just kicks in. The customer's inner voice flips from which one is best for me to, oh no, what if I make the wrong choice? They start spiraling, thinking, if I pick plan B, am I going to miss out on that one key feature in plan C? Or what if I pay for plan D and don't even use half the features? And look, this isn't just some small concern. It's a deep-seated fear of being disappointed later and wasting their hard-earned money. And of course, that fear of regret leads right to the final step, decision paralysis. The brain, trying to protect itself from the potential pain of a bad decision, just defaults to the safest, easiest option it has. And what is that option? Well, it's the simplest one of all. Close the tab. Just walk away. So when someone abandons their cart, it isn't necessarily a lost lead. It's a psychological defense mechanism. It's the brain slamming on the emergency brake and screaming, nope, this is too costly, too risky, I'm out. All right, let's go a level deeper. Let's talk about the 2 big behavioral principles that are really powering this whole cycle. And I promise, these aren't just marketing buzzwords. These are fundamental drivers of human behavior that explain exactly why a customer who genuinely wants your product will just quit instead of buying. So the first one is cognitive load. We kind of touched on this already, but it's so important to really get the impact here. It's just the sheer amount of brain power a task requires. When you throw a super complex grid of choices at someone, you're demanding a really high cognitive load from them. You're basically asking them to become a spreadsheet analyst just to buy something from you. The mental price tag for processing all that info just gets too high. And as humans, we are just wired to back away from anything that feels mentally exhausting. And the second principle, it's even more powerful. It's called regret aversion, which is really just a specific kind of loss aversion. Psychologically, the pain of losing something feels about twice as strong as the pleasure of gaining that exact same thing. So when a customer is looking at multiple plans, every single option they don't pick feels like a potential loss. The fear of choosing the wrong plan and losing out on something becomes way more powerful than the desire to get the benefits of the right plan. That fear of loss, it literally just paralyzes them. So if we put it all together, here's the bottom line on why they quit. First, the mental cost just gets too high. It's exhausting to compare everything. Second, that anticipated pain of regret starts to feel way heavier than the anticipated pleasure of buying. The fear literally becomes stronger than the desire. And third, when you're faced with this high-effort, high-risk decision, abandoning the whole thing suddenly feels like the only logical choice. Why? Because it takes 0 effort and has 0 risk of regret. Okay, enough about the problem. We've diagnosed it in detail, right? We get the illusion, we get the mechanism, we get the psychology. So now let's talk about the solution. Because this isn't just some abstract theory. There is a clear, actionable way to fix this. It's often called the Goldilocks Principle. And yeah, you guessed it, it's all about finding the choice that is just right. And this lays out the strategic shift we need to make perfectly. You have the old way, choice abundance. That's all about high friction, paralysis, and just focusing on how many options you can show off. Then you have the smart way, strategic reduction. This is all about creating an effortless choice that actually drives action. The focus completely shifts from options to value and from complexity to total clarity. Now take a look at this. I bet this looks uncomfortably familiar to a lot of you. This is the before state, a 6-tier pricing grid. I mean, the customer has to cross-reference all these features, compare add-ons, process 6 different prices. Just looking at it gives you a headache, right? It's pure cognitive load. Where do you even start? What's the right choice? This mental gymnastics routine is exactly what triggers that regret paralysis cycle we talked about. It is a textbook example of what not to do. And now, the solution. This is the after. Can you just feel the immediate sense of clarity, the relief? We've stripped it down to a classic good, better, best model. But, and this is so important, look at that middle option. It's highlighted as most popular. This is what we call the dominant default. We're not just cutting down the choices, we are actively guiding the customer. We're basically saying, hey, this is the safe, smart choice that most people just like you make. And that simple little frame, it completely short-circuits the entire paralysis cycle.
So how do you actually get there? It's a pretty straightforward 3-step process. First, audit and reduce. You got to go through everything you offer and just ruthlessly cut it down to the sweet spot of 3 to 5 choices. Second, define the dominant default. Pick one option, usually the middle one, and strategically highlight it. Call it recommended or most popular. This uses social proof and just puts the customer's mind at ease. And third, if you absolutely must have complexity, then you have to segment it. Break a huge decision down into a series of smaller, simpler steps. Whatever you do, don't throw all the complexity at the user at once.
Okay, let's bring this all home. As we start to wrap this up, I want to zoom out for a second to the one core idea that holds this entire strategy together. Because mastering this is really about a fundamental shift in how you see the customer's journey, seeing it from their perspective, not from yours.
Here it is, the core insight. Your job isn't to present a giant catalog of options. Your job is to be a curator, a guide. Your number one goal should be to eliminate mental fatigue. By strategically cutting down choices and guiding the customer to a clear, safe default, you shift their entire mental focus. They stop worrying about all the things they might be losing out on, and instead, they start getting excited about the value they're about to gain.
And hey, if you need one last stark reminder of this, just look at this. The relationship is inverse, and honestly, it's brutal. As the number of options skyrockets, your conversion rate just plummets. The data shows this again and again and again. Moving from a high-choice environment to a strategically limited one, say just 3 options, can dramatically boost your sales. It's true, less really is more. And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. Stop trying to push people through a funnel that's clogged with friction and complexity. Instead, your job is to design a path of least resistance, one that pulls them toward value. Because when you make the decision to buy from you feel simple and clear and safe, when you make it absolutely effortless, you don't just win a sale, you win a customer who feels confident, satisfied, and completely free from that awful burden of regret.